afternoon, Abbotsford residents. I'm Mr. Pelican. I'm running for your mayor of Abbotsford. The first thing we're going to do is get the RCMP in. Always at the end of my podcast, I emphasize what some of the greatest people that I've met along my journeys has said to pull me up. I always emphasize, and I always will now, say how grateful I am, Abbotsford homeowners, which you'll see soon and hear from soon, to the mission men and women in the RCMP. Tremendous men and women, human beings to human beings, that helped Abbotsford over the organized crime out of the Abbotsford police. I know it's hard. It's hard for every resident and every person to believe that this elite mob was doing this, and they used people in positions and qualified people to snow job Abbotsford. So let me explain to you. Mark Warkentine, you would look that he's a sitting counsel and a lawyer, and he'd be honorable and faithful. Kelly Shahal, a probation officer, you look and be honor and faithful. You look at these people. Henry used them in positions to paint the general public that there was no challenge, and to the other government officials that look at this, look what I got. Look what I got there. It's not like I hired a crackhead that's way better to represent than this Mark Warkentine. They knew what Henry's son, being the proving officer, was, counselor and everything. Henry used that. He blackjacked Abbotsford. Henry knew that Abbotsford residents had to walk into the Abbotsford police, which he would control evidence, he would control charges, and she would never get out the door of Abbotsford, and he had her locked down. Everybody with evidence would walk into the Abbotsford police and say, hey, this is what the mayor did last night. This is what Darren Braun's doing. This is what they're doing, buying officials, collaborating and threatening people. Let me investigate it. Phone Henry, we got the evidence. That was taking place. All the time I'm at the Abbotsford great investigators. And then stand on social media and TV and CBC. Oh, one of us died. Oh, God's sakes. National funerals and everything. Corky Neufeld is a BC conservative, and he went on a ride-along with the Abbotsford police and screwed up, calling them first responders after they left me for dead. The Abbotsford police were run by an elite establishment mob. You could see it, ladies and gentlemen. They distanced themselves from Henry, the great man that tried to shame Trudeau. This man was a ballsy little bugger. He was a ballsy little bugger. That money and greed drove him, and drove him, and drove him, and drove him to greed. The Abbotsford police believe, which I saw coming, we'll get rid of Mike, and we'll get a new chief, and that'll clean it. No. Henry's running the back, and you know it. We got to get rid of them all. Then none of them are savable. We got to rebuild. We got to cut, fire, and clean, and we need the RCMP. So an Abbotsford judge always told me this when we were having a conversation. Mr. Pelican, he knew I was going to violence. Violence is now the way when a man has crossed this, and Henry took protection. Henry's team was telling me he had the Abbotsford police around his house up at Downs. He bought new cameras and everything, and Henry was fearing what was coming. Damaging and threatening and sending a man to jail on last charges. You got no other option. You got to use violence. A judge saw right through me and knew that. He knew that. You're pushed to the limit now. Now she's got a job. And he said, Mr. Pelican, no one's above the law. No one can use the law, and no one can bend it, and no one thinks of the end. But that's not all what he said to me. He was calming and cooling and seeing. He said, I seen this all. He was pointing at the Abbotsford police. How Henry knew and how Henry could charge him. He said, keep on course. Keep a course. Stay with what you're doing. She'll flush to the top, and she's at the top. An Abbotsford old judge. I showed you as mayor that when I come into Abbotsford, I'm going to cut small business, waive your license to get you up from the corona setback. I showed you that I'm going to go after the Downtown Business Association license to 5,000 to 10,000 that's stolen out. I showed you what the tourism board was doing. I showed you what that punk Ross Siemens scam for Henry and Dave Lowens, the lackey, were doing. How? When I had Darren Brown, before he knew I was Mr. Pelican, I got all the information and plus more. More that what I can't even mention on YouTube because there's legal problems and there's the RCMP and we want the law. And that kid, Renner, she ran her. I showed you that I was going to help the farmers get cold storage and everything. Abbotsford is the Fraser Valley of agriculture. In a downturn, in an economic downturn, it'll extend itself and keep itself afloat because of the agriculture. Henry saw these lands forcing, jacking, and manipulating for the Fisher Community Plan. If people weren't going to sell it to him, he was going to threaten them out. If people weren't going to give to him, he was going to use the city to block and get his friends like Ron Funk on the Vaquero Ranch. Ron, I'm going to give you this message. Henry will phone you tonight. I wouldn't start the Vaquero Ranch. I wouldn't start it at all, Ron. I'd be worrying about Sage's property, the zoning changing, and everything else, and the collaborating and the racketeering. Look how scared Ross Siemens this is. Insider trading and all this of Darren Brown's own mouth is going to send you up the river for the rest of your life of taking advantage of Abbotsford taxpayers, bankrupting other people and blackjacking them so you could gain, Ron. Your partner, you picked a great partner, Henry Brown. I think them are my words. So as Abbotsford's tourism board, I showed you the other day, I showed you Nicole Reid, I showed you this all. As your mayor, how am I going to accomplish these cut taxes? How am I going to do it? You know I have the best. I have the best, and I'm only here for Abbotsford to drive it. I'm going to be the mayor that changes everything for residents. I believe that the path that I was forced down, beat down, and whipped is kind of like Moses when he was sent to the desert. He didn't care anymore. He came back to flee his people and give them freedom and give them choice. Henry was stealing out of the city, and it was his way of life where you were brutalized. Community police were his way of owning a whole town. That we do know. Nobody, if you see AB or anybody bailing him out now, it's because Howie's tied through the back through Henry. Darren Brown opened her up. Henry was running a ship too loose, too reckless, and too care. He believed that his power, his money, and his connections could always phone the Abbotsford police and say, I need a beating, a mob, a complete mob. There is no, you cannot tell me the Abbotsford police are police officers. They're a gang. That is clear now, and it's clear. You're going to see them beg onto other police forces. You're going to see them wheeling. They have to go. The attack on Councillor Mogel, that South Asian with the task force, by that white-collar crap in the Abbotsford Police Department, needs to be called out by all South Asians. The attack on my East Indian neighbor, calling her a dumb brown cow by Henry, and me and him should work together because he wanted the money, sickens me to the stomach. What they did to Mogel, all police forces got to spit on the Abbotsford police. You have to do it. You can't stand by it. The block of not allowing South Asians onto the police force. The crap of Mike Young and Ed, the establishment, racist, collared, outright discriminating. Oh, we're Mennonites. Yeah, we're the Mennonite community. The old boys, we got to hang on. Pierre Poilievre called them the M&Ms, the Mennonite mob. Of not allowing these South Asians anywhere. Brutalizing them, kicking them, call them all names and everything. Henry Brown. Henry Brown was the engine of that racism all the way. When Brenda Falk did on the George Floyd thing, Henry didn't call her out. He needed her. She was jacking each other. The racist act of Mike DeYoung not having no South Asians, even Dave Sadu, endorse him when he was pushing over Suk Mengel. They're brutal, they're racist, the discrimination, the constant gagging and beat down on Suk Mangel of the Federal Conservatives here in Abbotsford by Vicky Hopes, by Mike DeYoung, by that crap, that disgusting Ed Fast, disgusting man, even against his own party, because we needed Mikey, the money, the money, the money. She was obvious to all leaders. It was clear racism right out the get-go. Right out the get-go, and you can't say any different. Oh, Abbotsford police are here. Here we come. Here we come. Get the task force out tonight. Let's go. We need to call it out. That is what I'm going to do as your mayor. As your mayor of Abbotsford, I'm going to bring a big economic driver here. The Abbotsford Airport. Long overdue. A bigger casino, hotels, venues like there's never been. Let me explain to you. The air show will all continue here. It'll be expanded bigger and wider under me. People will come down from the interior, attend the air show, and fly out to bigger venues. Then what'll happen? We'll expand the airport to 2 runways. It's up to 1 million now. We're going to get it to 2 million people. Under my mayorship and my team, my ticket, my leadership, we're going to buy out the farmers behind us. Give them more than fair value above asking for their land. Because this economic driver can do it, and we can get the money back. And that will allow the airport to span. And we're going to allow the airport, its vision and its people that don't harm anybody, to be cut loose like a dolphin in the ocean, free, and allowed to expand with the help of the federal and provincial government, and no boot filling of Henry's gravel pits and Henry's friends. No, Henry running out the week before and buying the farmers behind because he knows it's coming. Henry, this mastermind in the threats on Abbotsford residents, the lifts to Ron Funk and everything. I just can't figure this. Off the subject of politics and my own thought here. A mayor that scammed and manipulated and brutalized all these people and councils and collaborated and owned the police department for a lift like a mob. She's now obvious. She's obvious for a long time. His son and everything. I'm untouchable. Got on the stage, tried to shit-kick the Prime Minister of Canada. Everything he did was just disgusting because he was out of control, and even he didn't even know what he was doing anymore. Brutalizing the Abbotsford police to call threats that you're untouchable, you'll never get kicked out of here. Look at the position, you're a task force officer. Look at I'll get Vicky Hopes and wreck their lives because I'm endless. You won't stay on the police. I don't care, you got your tongue up to Watts' backside. Oh, I need him, I need him. He's a gang chaser. Oh, this guy can chase. He's the only one who can drive the task force car tonight with the lights on. Oh, he's the only one who can carry a gun. Oh, look at him. The brutal acts of the racist stuff in Abbotsford, of that kid up in Yale Secondary because he was black, not allowed in the parks after hours because he's black. That was the Abbotsford police. I want him in my town? No, I don't want him in my town. I want the best. RCMP, the best, who can get out and do work, do paperwork, go talk to witnesses, and put her before my court. These economic drivers, ladies and gentlemen, the airport, under my mayorship, that money that's driven by this tourism, wide open, wide open. This is a money pit. And I said off the subject as Henry, why the hell, Henry, with all your brains and your money, with Ron Funk, the shit that would have got you caught, and the stuff that wouldn't got you caught, the lifts to land and the threats and the mobbing, why didn't you go knowing the pipeline was coming and buy all the farms before and then tell the pipeline from the federal government, you want to expropriate, you got to give me an extra $1 million, and you could have probably set yourself up bigger that way than this scam. The airport's money under me for your taxes will go into the city and it won't be allowed to touch. You won't be allowed to have a sneaky peeky, oh look at, I want SkyTrain. SkyTrain's coming. I need the 2020, we got to keep the community plan. You know, I used to own SkyTrain. I'm the mayor, the former mayor. My friends can build it. I got the gravel pits. Look at me, sneaky peeky of the plan, the 25-year plan. How many developers are my friends? I lobbied for the Fisher community plan. Oh, look at that. Oh, I'm on Downs. Get up here. I have a meeting, Council Ross. Under my mayorship, that money will only be designed, and from after my mayorship, to pay your water bill and your taxes down. This economic driver will go to you as a resident, not to nobody else. You as a resident. It's hotels, it's bigger airport, it's that. The city's role and the city's goal as mayor is to help it get up and push her to tourism. The city's goal is to get world leaders landing here. The city's goal is to get it a tourism attraction like none other. But the city's mayor, me, is to make sure that you benefit. And none of that money will be ever allowed to touch for infrastructures, for any of Henry's shit old friends or any scams. And we're gonna cut the airport loose. Karam Funk and Diverse, you better go buy the land behind it. To Dave Sadu, or Andy Sadu on Tracy Road, you better stop your illegal operation. I'm 99% sure now that I'm going to get the RCMP into Abbotsford. She's too big. She's too large. Too many threats. Too many in the back of the head that our officers die or were they carrying Henry's business. Too much in elite criminal ring in Abbotsford was in the APD Police Department. Now, to Chief Watts, I'm going to invite you again, you coward. You, your leader in Abbotsford, your assistant chief, to come onto my podcast with Abbotsford residents and have a sit down, and we're going to light your ass up to the world and show you what police work were. I want to explain something, ladies and gentlemen, before I end my podcast today. Can you imagine with all the evidence that I learned from Darren Brown and went to the RCMP and went to the premiers, went to John Rustad and had him in. And I told you Terry Beach of the Liberals of Burnaby was the first to help. Pierre Poilievre and all the people in oppositions that I sat with. All oppositions and parties because they were human beings to help. Can you imagine, under Darren Brown's words, taking that information and your evidence into a police department of Abbotsford so they could squash it? So I leave you with this on my podcast today. Any evidence that you have or anything that convolves around city councillors, Abbotsford police officers misbehaving or anything, I advise you to post it on social media. I advise you to go see a lawyer, or I advise you to take the best legal procedures and steps you can and go see the RCMP. You walk into the Abbotsford Police Complaints Commission and you're going to lose your evidence, and you're going to have the Abbotsford Task Force threatening you to help bail their officers or who they need to clean it out. That there is the truth. That there is why I went to the RCMP mission, and the evidence stands on the world stage of Henry's hit and run, the hospital, and everything else. The Abbotsford residents, do you not think under my mayorship that I have the best for you? I can lower your taxes for you. I can bring the economic drivers in for you. I can set Abbotsford on a course like no other. Do you not know that now? This is why Henry Brown used the Abbotsford police to threaten me in the mayorship. This is why Henry got Greg Toes to buy me and tried to bribe me to Chamber of Commerce. This is why Henry got that shit stickerhead passed to help him out with it. This is why Henry got Dave Sadu and Andy Sadu, the Chancellor of UFV, would own the Capriccio newspaper, to pull me all down and block me. This is why Henry told Craig Gabriel, the electoral officer, not to give me the by-election or the election list to phone voters. This is why he told Gabriel to go out on private property and take my signs down so they could help Ross Siemens. Henry knew I could alter the course of Abbotsford and cut his shithole stuff out and send him to jail. But Henry, I watched him spend all his money on downs, as Olenoff said. I will personally bury you. If you don't drop these videos and lawsuits against Henry for them homes. Henry had to start emptying the money on downs out of his safe. When he ran out of money and cash out of the safe, I believe, he ran out of strength and power and started to fold. And then he lost his shit. As Olenoff's words said, I'd like to leave you with this. I will personally bury you. Meaning, he was going to put me in the ground by a gun or by frames or anything, and you could see that. It was long overdue, the Abbotsford police, for a shake-up, a beat-down, and a kick of the lads. Men and women that believed uniform and lost the respect, the law, what they were doing, and the focus, or even their own morals. They were so intertwined with the power and the joyriding and the beat-down and the badge than common sense. Can you imagine that? At my funeral, the luck of surviving Henry's hit and run. But at my funeral, the Abbotsford police coming there, standing there, especially Olenoff and Mike Sir. Oh, we're so sorry Mr. Pelican died. We're looking for his attacker. Believe me, we got all our men. We're working day and night. And then leave going, we got rid of him. Now look at our fucking new building and our scams and our vehicles. Look at Mikey. She failed. She failed because I believe it's by God's hand. And that's why she failed. And she failed miserably. And I believed I had to be driven down like the RCMP said this to me, Mr. Pelican. You know, as bad as it is and as hard as you went through, we all feel for you, but we were all there for every one of you. It's a shame that anybody had to go through this. He said, I believe you had to be beaten down this hard and this severe for you to stand up and rise, to overcome it all and show what Darren Braun showed and not be scared of the Abbotsford Police. To the men and women who work in the Abbotsford Police, I'm on the world social media, worldwide, to show the whole world, ask the whole world, plagued with the whole world on the disgusting crap you did in them uniforms. I want to rip you out of that company and get the best men and women there is in Canada for Abbotsford, the RCMP. I'm live, ladies and gentlemen. Abbotsford, British Columbia at the airport.